Hey, Cassie Deputy at deputytribe.com. If you're new, welcome. We love to have you. Go ahead and click the subscribe button below and give this video a thumbs up. If you're not new, welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about a homeschool Spanish program called Excelerate Spanish. So come and join me right after this and let's talk about it. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. We are going to talk about a really exciting homeschool Spanish curriculum today. Finding a foreign language is extremely important in today's society with all the multiculturalism that we have going on, especially here in America. We have people who speak many different languages, and especially as Christians, I think it's very important to equip our children to be able to speak a second language so that they can share the gospel and they don't have those hindrances of language in the way. So one of my hopes and goals and prayers is to gift my children with at least another language, hopefully more than one. But the challenges arise where I am not fluent in anything except English. I have a little bit of background in French, enough to read it, but and enough to hear something and maybe be able to tell you what someone's saying, but not enough to have a full-blown conversation and communicate. My husband knows a very little bit of Spanish, and that's pretty much the extent of our ability to gift our children with a foreign language. So to be able to find a homeschool language curriculum that does not require my expertise is exactly what I need. Cue Excelerate Spanish. We are going to be talking about the Excelerate Spanish streaming option that's on their website. It's about $15 a month, and you get access to all of the lessons in Level 1 and all of the lessons in Level 2. Excelerate Spanish has a little bit of a different approach than any other language that I have ever encountered. I have taken, I think, 2 years of Spanish, 1 year of sign language, and about 4 or 5 years of French. So I'm pretty familiar with how language is typically taught, and I've never experienced this type of language teaching before. Now, what makes it unique? I think what makes Excelerate Spanish very unique is there is not a large emphasis on grammar and writing and conjugating verbs and that kind of thing, at least not in levels 1 and 2, which is all that's available. Now, Karen Hommel is the one who created Excelerate Spanish, and she used to teach in the public school system for about 10 years. She also homeschooled her children, and she has something that's called TRP, which is Total Physical Response Storytelling. This is a unique approach to teaching a language that incorporates all the different parts of the brain. So how does it work? Well, it incorporates hearing the language being spoken in a more natural, fluent manner. So she gives a lot of her instructions in Spanish. She follows them up with English so that there's no confusion as to what she's saying. But she does speak in fluent Spanish at a fast pace for majority of the class. She believes in seeing the language. She associates vocabulary with specific bodily gestures, which helps a child remember and act out and physically manifest the vocabulary that they're hearing. She does a lot of role playing, a lot of acting. She does a lot of storytelling. Every lesson has a specific genre, so you're getting the context of what this vocabulary is being used as. For instance, the concert. And so all the vocabulary in that will revolve around being at a concert, you know, hearing music and putting a CD in and arriving and waiting in line and paying with your ticket and all the different aspects of what would be involved in that scene. So you're getting the vocabulary in context, you're hearing it from a native speaker that doesn't trip over their words like I am right now. And you definitely get a feel for the patterns of the Spanish language and for what an actual Spanish speaker would say and do and manifest and their physical gestures, and you begin to pick up on words that you were never taught because you're just immersed in it. And so how does this streaming work? What it is you log on online, and I will walk you through the online portion in just a moment, and you play through your video. Now what we did is we cast the video up on our TV so that my children could watch and they could listen and they could act things out, and we could do it in a living room setting. So I'll just walk you through the website and the lesson now so that you can have an idea of what that looks like before I explain how we use this program. Okay, so here is the website, accelerate-spanish.com. Here's the main page, as you can see. If you go to this little drop-down menu and you decide to streaming member login, you can click that. And I am already logged in, so once you log in, this is what your main account looks like. Click here to start streaming videos. You also have your dashboard and other information here. But I just click this. I click Spanish 1. And this is my most favorite screen because of how neatly organized it is. There is the first lesson. Actually, that's the introduction. Down here is all your lessons. You can click Spanish 2 and it will bring you a Spanish 2 drop-down menu. But I just simply click Lesson 6. And there it is, ready to go. Here is the intro. And that is pretty much it. It's very straightforward and very organized, clean layout, which I really appreciate. Welcome back. I hope that gave you a great idea as to what the video lessons look like and what the streaming menu looks like and how easy it is to access the videos, and you can re-watch them 100 times, you can pause them, you can rewind them, you can take segments of them. The streaming option I think is really nice because let's say I have a child that wants to go farther, and let's say I have another child that wants to re-watch a few lessons. I have that. By the click of a button, I can stream it and I can cast it to because I have Apple, so I can cast it to my different Apple devices, and I really, really enjoy the streaming option. I think I would prefer the streaming over the DVDs that Excelerate Spanish offers. So she has a classroom setting, a classroom feel. So she's literally in front of a whiteboard with students sitting in chairs behind her. Now, the lessons begin with her writing the vocab on the board and teaching the students the gesture for each vocab. She'll maybe take on 5 to 10 vocabulary words, and then she'll string them together to make sentences while acting them out.
Lección 6, Lesson 6. Un partido de béisbol, a baseball game. Vocabulario. Un partido de béisbol. Un partido de béisbol, a baseball game. Palomitas de maíz, un refresco, encuentra. Vamos a practicar. Palomitas de maíz. Palomitas de maíz, un refresco, encuentra. There it is. Encuentra. Encuentra. Ahora, Shomi encuentra unas palomitas de maíz en la taquilla. Encuentra unas palomitas de maíz en la taquilla. Shomi, el empleado encuentra unas palomitas de maíz.
So then after she builds quite an extensive vocabulary on the board, she really works on getting the children more engaged. So she may call up volunteers to act things out as she describes them. She may act out a full story and have the students just kind of follow along in their seats.
Ignacio está en el partido de béisbol, en el parque de béisbol, mirando un partido de béisbol. No compra palomitas de maíz. No compra un refresco. No tiene dinero. Sí, siéntate. Mercedes se sienta al lado de Ignacio. Ella tiene palomitas de maíz. Hold your popcorn, you're gonna drop it. Ignacio agarra el refresco y lo bebe. agarra las palomitas de maíz y las come. Ignacio se ríe y Mercedes le tira las palomitas de maíz en su cabeza. Está en el parque. Un partido de béisbol.
But I did notice that as we get farther in the lessons, they kind of build on each other. So the vocabulary that we learned in lesson 1, a few of those words may come up in lesson 5. And you also see this going into level 2, where you see much larger phrases and kind of an assumption that you have the basic knowledge from level 1. Not in an intimidating way where you have to master things. It doesn't feel like you have to master something before you move on. It feels like the goal of this program is to really get your brain engaged in the Spanish language and understanding things. At the end of all her lessons, she goes through the accompanying student workbook, and she asks questions in Spanish, comprehension questions from what the class has taught, and then she goes over the lesson in the book, and they just read through it and they answer the questions verbally.
¿Ataca o aplaude? Aplaude, no ataca. Gracias, clase de español, buen trabajo. Ahora un poco de vocabulario extra.
Now, we did not have the opportunity to review the student workbook or the teacher workbook, so I cannot speak on that. I really wish we would have had that opportunity because I think I could have given a better recommendation as far as if this curriculum is very, very effective. But because we only have the streaming option, that's the only part of this curriculum that I can speak on. So because we didn't have a student workbook, my children got notebooks and they decided that they wanted to write the vocabulary out that the teacher wrote on the whiteboard. They wanted to do this so that they could sit down with their notebooks later and they could practice plugging sentences together. The other thing I noticed that I think would accompany this program tremendously, and it's actually written in her frequently asked questions part of her website and also on her blog, is to use this as a springboard to really immerse your children in the language. So I would recommend getting books in Spanish, having them watch cartoons in Spanish, whatever movies you guys usually watch as a family, maybe switching them to Spanish or throwing Spanish subtitles up for the older kids. Anything you can do to really have them continue to hear the language, because language is first listened to and then replicated long before it is ever written. And being able to communicate with a language is the foundation for being able to write and read in a language. So I think that's the premise of what Excelerate Spanish is all about. We use this either once or twice a week. On Fridays, it's kind of our fun day for school, so we do a lot of extracurricular classes and activities on Fridays, such as art and maybe some other things in music that don't require our typical Suzuki study. So we incorporated Spanish at least every Friday. And this works out really well because my friend Anna, who is from Texas and her family's from Mexico, she usually comes over on Fridays. And so she's going to start reading the kids' books in Spanish and going through their lessons with them and just kind of giving them that extra, what's the word, real cultural feel for Spanish and assistance that I cannot give them. So overall, what did we think? I think this is brilliant. I think you could take this and you could make it something even more fantastic. What do I mean by that? Like I said earlier, I wasn't able to use the workbooks and stuff because I wasn't given those things. In my head, if I imagined what the workbooks would look like, if I paired some sort of workbook with what Excelerate Spanish has laid, I think if you kept building on these levels, it would produce a fluent speaker. I noticed immediately my children were able to start stringing whole sentences together in Spanish. They weren't just stopping and thinking over specific vocabulary words and how to conjugate things. They were very confident in what they were saying, even though it may not have been conjugated correctly. They felt like they could at least get a good grip on what a sentence pertains to.
Casi grita hola. Cassie says hello. No, yells hello. que papá entra concierto. Papá despierta disco compacto canta.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means my father or Papa went to the concert, enters the concert, and he listens to the CD and sings.
I was also surprised when the teacher would start listing off directions and comprehension questions really fast in Spanish, and my kids would answer with the correct answer. I was like, what in the world? I don't even know what she just said, but they got the answer right. She does offer a lot of free resources to kind of complement, such as some quizzes on Quizlet. It has like flashcards and it has questions and things, as well as some posters that you can print, and she recommends going online and finding worksheets and coloring pages and things like that that you can print. They are loving it. They look forward to taking their Spanish. They beg me. In fact, we did one just last evening, which was a Wednesday evening, because they were like, let's do Spanish. And they all love acting it out. And when the teacher asks for a volunteer, they all throw their hands up in the air. I want to do it. No, I want to do it. And they all volunteer every time anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Here's your car.
It's a nice car.
Es ideal para ustedes. Siéntense, por favor. Súbanse.
No, I'm driving. It says Pedro drives.
Ahora pongan mucha atención. Escuchen. Hagan los gestos. Do all the things that you hear me say. Pedro va a un concierto de jazz. Se reúne con su amigo Antonio.
Go with me.
Hola.
Hola.
Pedro saca fotos de Antonio y le grita. Y se ríe, y se ríe, y se ríe. Antonio le grita, idiota.
But we had a lot of fun with this. My plan is to continue using this for the rest of our school year. I'm excited to see at the end of a year how much they've progressed, and maybe I'll pop back on here and do another video on how we've done over the course of an entire year. I'd be really interested in seeing how they fare with the other native Spanish speakers that we're in contact with. And I'm excited to use those resources as an extra help in teaching my children a second language. But as far as a homeschool mom of soon to be 7, with not a lot of prior knowledge in a foreign language, I would say out of all the curriculums that I've ever experienced through doing the Homeschool Review Crew and other things like that, it seems as if Excelerate Spanish is probably the absolute best choice. And the reason I say that is because of the technique that it uses. It doesn't use your traditional, let's teach the kids grammar and let's never actually be fluent in the language. It does the opposite. It teaches them fluency in thought and in hearing and in conversation before they ever get to pen and paper and start conjugating verbs. So I think in the long run, this would produce more fluent speakers. So that's kind of my review and my recap of Excelerate Spanish. I hope that you enjoyed this video and you give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and check out the links below if you want to check out Excelerate Spanish's website, the link to the streaming option, also a link to our website, deputytribe.com. And the last link that you'll find down there is actually a link to all the other reviews on this product by my crewmates. There were 45 of us who reviewed Excelerate Spanish, so that means there's 44 other reviews that are either video or written that you can check out just by clicking the link below that will give you a very full understanding of what this curriculum is capable of. So thanks for joining me. God bless!